Hello everyone, I am going to show you today how to make this cute little axolotl bookmark. I had a lot of requests on my reel to do a tutorial on this, so we're going to get started. Okay, so supplies you'll need is size 10 crochet thread in your main color and then your gill color. Also need a 1mm crochet hook. I'm using the Clover number 6. I have scissors, a needle, and some regular sewing thread in black. This will be for the eyes and the mouth. And you will also need a small amount of stuffing. This is way more than you'll need. You'll probably only need about maybe this much right here. It doesn't take very much to stuff this little tiny thing. Okay, first we're going to start with the gills because we're going to crochet those into the head. So we're going to make 6 gills, and to do that we're going to make a slip knot. Sorry, this is really hard to film because the phone has to be so close to my work I can't see what I'm doing unless I'm looking through the camera. So it's going to be not as pretty, but you'll get the idea. All right, so we're going to chain 5. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so you chain 5, and then you're going to do a single crochet in the second chain from the hook, and then the remaining 3. So you will have 4 total. So you're going to go into the second chain and single crochet, and then go into the next chain. These little things are really hard to hold on to, especially with these finger covers on. But my fingers are just tore up. Okay. All right. And that is it. That is one of the gills. This will curl more or less. If you crochet it looser, it doesn't curl as much. If you crochet it a little bit tighter, it curls up a little. I kind of like the little curl it gives to the gill because it curls up and it gives a little character. So I just cut this and pull the tail through. And now you have 1 gill. So you're going to make 5 more of these. You want 6 total. And then set them aside to crochet in later. So we're going to set that over and I will crochet the rest and I'll be right back. Okay, so now that we have our 6 gills done, we can start on the body. So I'm going to set these. Okay, so to get started, we're going to start with a magic ring, which I usually just wrap it around my finger and take my hook and go under the loop and bring it through like so. And then I chain 1. So chain 1. Sorry, this is really hard to film because I can't see what I'm doing. I have to look at the camera. So it's going to go a lot slower than normal, but you'll get the picture. Okay, so now that I've chained 1, we're going to do 6 single crochet in the magic ring. And this is 1, and you can see that little tiny stitch right there. Also, I'm wearing these finger protectors because after so much friction from this small hook on your fingers over and over, it really starts to wear down your fingers. And I have actually accidentally poked this into my finger, and that is no fun. Super painful. So I'm going to take this and make this ring a little smaller. It makes it a little bit easier. Like so. And I always hold my string like this. I wrap it around my pinky and then I hold it like this. Okay, so we have 1. We need 5 more. 2. 3. Okay, so we have 6 there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So now you're going to tighten your magic ring up by pulling this and pulling it pretty tight because you want it to close this circle here. You don't want to have a hole. So reasonably tight, but not too tight to break your string. It can, I don't know, depending on what type of thread you're using. I have pulled it tight enough to where it's broken, and then that you just have to basically start over. So don't do that. Okay, so the next round, you're going to do 2 single crochet in each of the 6 stitches for a total of 12 single crochet. So I'm going to take my hook. And the first one is actually the hardest one to get started because it's generally the smallest of the circle, but you can see it right there. It's hard for me to point to it, so I'm going to try my best to look through the camera and get this. Sometimes if you loosen the first loop up a little, that helps. So I'm going to pull this loop out a little bit and kind of wiggle. I crochet a little tighter than most people, but I like my stitches to be super tight. So that's just part of it. So sometimes it takes me a little longer with this smaller thread because I have to shove my hook through some of the stitches. Okay, so this part is always the hardest, getting started here. And I'm looking through the camera. I might have to take this one off because I can't grip it. But you can see my thumb has had a rough go. I need to use my fingernail to hold on to this little tiny piece of work. All right, try this again. All right, once you get the first one in, then the rest of them are easy. So we're going to do 2 in each stitch. And I'm just going to do the rest off camera. Okay, so for the third round, we're going to make 6 increases to get to 18 single crochet. So we have 12. So I highly recommend counting each round, counting your stitches to make sure you haven't skipped anything and you're not missing anything, because it's really frustrating if you skip a stitch on accident and have to go back and undo rounds. It's just time consuming and unnecessary. If you just count, that prevents that. So we are going to go into the first stitch and just do a single crochet in the first one. And then you're going to do 2 single crochet in the next stitch. And you're going to repeat this all the way around until you get to your last stitch. I don't mark, I just count. So I know I've done it 6 times, and then I count my stitches at the end to make sure I have 18. So I'm going to do the rest off camera. Okay, so now that I have 18 total stitches, we're going to start on round 4. So round 4, you're going to do 7 single crochet, and then we'll start adding the gills. So we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7. Okay, so we've done 7. So now the gills will be worked in over the next 2 stitches. So those 1, 2 stitches right there, we will be working in the first gill. Put this back on. So what you're going to do is you're going to take one of the gills that you made previously, and so you're going to see this is the right side, and you have the wrong side, right? So we're going to lay it on the wrong side up. And this is really hard to show you because it's so small, but we're going to do our best here. Let me separate these strings. Okay, so you're going to lay it wrong side up, kind of on this way, like this. And I'm going to try to get the strings in the right places. Okay, so you want it like this, laying on top of your 2 stitches. So you're going to go through, this has at the top right here and right here are the 2 that we're going to go through on the gill. And it's just where the strings come out. So they'll loosen up a little, but we'll tighten them up later. So you're going to go through here, and then you're going to go through, let's see if I can get it on here so you can see. You'll see the next stitch right here. You're going to go through, and you're just going to crochet through it. So you're going to pull your yarn through the stitch and through the gill, like so, and then make your single crochet. And then you're going to do that for the next one, or the next side of the gill right here. Go through the top of the gill, and then go through the stitch on the head and pull it through, and voila. So now take this other side of the string and put it over the top. So you've got both your strings coming out from the inside of the body. You're going to go over this, and we're going to do 7 single crochet. Just want to make sure I didn't skip anything. I'll make sure you don't skip any stitches. So then we're going to go do 7 single crochet over top. Okay, so the next one, what you want to make sure here is you don't skip any stitches. So I always lift it up a little, and you can see where the next stitch is so we don't miss it right here. And then you're going to do 7, this counts as 7 single crochet. So that was 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 and 7. So for the last 2 stitches of this round, we're going to crochet the second gill on the first round of gills. So let me just make sure I got 7 here. And I didn't skip it. So we want to put, you can't see, we want to lay it on here with the back side facing up, because it will flip down once your axolotl is done. Okay, so again, we're going to go in through the top of the side of the gill right there, and sometimes you pull this tight, it helps. Make sure you don't skip any stitches. So let me see here. So we're gonna go into this stitch right here and pull your stitch through. The downside of crocheting tight, I have to do it close to my face. There we go. 1. All right, and then the next one, also make sure we don't skip any stitches. Go through here. It will loosen up like that, and you'll just pull that string tight once you crochet over it. Okay. And pull this string over. These little guys take so much longer to make than the larger plushies. They're definitely more time consuming because you can't go as fast or you end up skipping little stitches. Okay, so I just did 1, but those 2 gill stitches are technically the last 2 of the round. So you're going to repeat that round 2 more times. So you're going to do 7 single crochet, 2 over a gill, 7 single crochet, 2 more over a gill, and that's another round. And you'll do that 2 more times. And I will meet you at the end after we've crocheted all those in, because I don't think I need to do that on camera. You can just back up in the video if you need to watch doing over the gills again. But so now you'll see this is the top side of the gill, the underside is down here. So your axolotl is going to sit up like this, and that way the top of your gills are facing up. All right, I'll be back in just a few minutes. I did forget to mention, so I will normally, what I do is I will start going around here, and I'll do about 5, maybe 5 single crochet right here, 2, 3, 4 or 5, just so that this is out of the way, this loop, because what we're going to do is we're going to tie your gills in. So take that loop and just string it out. And now you're going to take these gill strings, and I have to take this finger thing off. So you're going to take these and you're going to tie them to the inside. So tie them in a knot right there and trim the tails, and the same thing with the other one. I'll do this one so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. This just secures it to the inside. Because we went through only these tails of the gill instead of actual stitches of the gill, it won't stay. They will eventually slide out. You don't want that. So just tie it. I usually just tie it twice. There's 1, and you can pull it pretty tight. And 2, and squeeze it kind of tight. You don't want it coming untied. And then I just kind of trim these somewhat short like that. So you'll have a little knot in there. And you do it for the side, and you'll do it each round. I do it after I do both gills, and I do a few stitches into the next round, and then I tie each, you know, each set off. It's easier to do it that way than to wait until you have them all in and you've got too many strings to deal with. So it's better to deal with each of them during each round. See how this string came where I went through the gill came a little loose? So just take this and you just pull it and it tightens it down. So now it's not loose anymore. So I'll tie this one and then continue on into the other 2 gill rounds. Okay, so now that I've got all of my gills crocheted and tied off, the next round is just 1 single crochet in each stitch. I have already started, I already did 3 stitches. So you're gonna go around for a total of 18 single crochet. Okay, so now that I've done 1 round of just single crochet for 18 total, we're going to decrease 6 single crochet. So to do that, we're going to do a single crochet in the first stitch. Oh, that stitch is too loose. Okay, so a single crochet in the first stitch. Oh gosh, can't do this on camera. And then a decrease, an invisible decrease. So an invisible decrease, you're just going to go through the front loops of the next 2 stitches. So this front loop and this front loop, and you're going to crochet them together. I'm going to see if I can get this on camera. It's really hard to do because I have to get it close to my face to be able to see it. But there's 1 front loop, 2 front loops, and now you pull your yarn through both loops and complete a single crochet. And you're going to do that 6 times. Okay, so now that we've done 6 decreases, we have 12 stitches left. And you can decrease 6 more to get down to 6, but I actually really like how this looks when we stop at this round with 12. So I'm going to go ahead and trim my tail. And we're going to use this to sew it up. So just pull it through that stitch. And now we're going to stuff the inside. So I use my scissors here to kind of open it up a little bit. And then we're going to take some of our stuffing, probably about, we'll add more, but let's start with about this much. And what I do is I just kind of put it on top here. I use my scissors to stuff it down in. so. And we'll need a little bit more to completely, you want it to be kind of rounded, but there's a little bit more space in here. So just a tiny bit more will do. Probably about this much. It helps if you ball in the long ends of this, kind of ball it up a little bit. You don't want to do it too tight, but we might have to remove some and trim it up a little bit. So if you kind of push it down into the sides, that fills it out more and doesn't leave any dents or lumps or bumps. All right, I think that looks good for now. If you have any scragglers, I usually try to trim those off a little bit. Just be careful not to cut your yarn tail. All right, I think that looks pretty good. Okay, so now you're gonna take your needle and you're gonna have to thread this. So we're gonna leave the center tail still out, and I'll show you why I leave that. It helps to secure it at the end. So the tail of where you finished off, which is this one right here, connected to your stitch, you're going to thread it into this needle. Now how I do this, because this needle doesn't easily fit that thread through, I use a piece of sewing thread, or you can use a needle threader, and I just put this in like so, and I take my tail, put it through that loop, and then I pull this loop through, and that threads my needle. So now we're going to take this and we're going to cinch up this hole with this tail. So how I do that is I go into just the front loops of the stitches. So we start with the first stitch here and go through the front, and I alternate going from the inside and then to the outside like this. You're only going to use the front loops, so just going to go back and forth until you have all 12 used up. Okay, I just finished the 12th one. So once you get to the 12th, you are going to want to pull this to cinch up the hole. So pull it kind of tight, but don't break your string. See, it cinches it up most of the way. So now that it's pretty cinched, I take this and I go back through one of the loops into the center. One of the stitches, I should say. Careful not to stab yourself. I've done it way too many times. Okay, so pull this through into the center, and now tie these two in a knot. This secures your magic loop string too, because this yarn is so stiff that it tends to come open easily. So I secure it at the end this way. And it also secures my last stitch tail as well. So once you have it in a knot, like so, you can cut your tails here and push this knot inside into the center. All right. So you can do a little shaping if it's wonky. So this is the axolotl head. You can straighten these out a little if you want, or you can curl them up. I kind of like them curled because I think it's so cute. So now we're going to add the bookmark tail, which is fairly simple. So you're just going to take your whatever color you want to use. I like to match the body and do a slip knot. Like so. And you're just going to go through some of the loops on the bottom. So whatever is easiest, this center circle here. Pick up one on one side, come out the other side like this. And you're going to want to slip this through. Like so, and make a slip stitch with your slip knot. All right, you want to make a slip stitch like that, and now you're just going to chain 120. So that's the amount that seems to be a pretty good length, or however long you want it to be. Doesn't matter, whatever your personal preference is, but 120 seems to be long enough to fit most average books. So then you're just going to keep going for 120 stitches. Okay, once you get to 120, just trim this tail probably about 5 inches or so, and then just pull it through. And then we're going to make a tassel. The tassel for the bottom is just taking 5 strands, which basically I could probably use one of these. Oh, that's okay. It's just taking 5 strands, about 6 inches long or so, about this long. Cut 5 of those, and I'll show you how to attach them to the bottom. Okay, so now that you have 5, you're going to go like this, fold them in half, and the easiest way I have found is by taking not the first little chain, but the second chain, so right here, and kind of pulling it up a little bit so it's a little bit looser, because you're going to try to pull all of these 5 strands through here like so, and then pull them up a little bit so you can get your fingers through this loop. So open it up like that. You want to get your fingers in here like this and pull these tails through, but also grab the original tail from your chain and pull it through as well, just so it blends in, otherwise it'll stick straight out. So pull this in with the rest, and you want to pull all of these at the same time to try to get as even of a knot as you can, and you're just going to pull it pretty tight, just like that. You don't want it to come undone. So there you have it, and I pretty much just go like trim it about here, and that's your little tassel. So now you have this. you're going to weave in this tail with your needle. I usually just go in through the bottom and then weave it around a stitch, come out, weave it down, and do one more on the other side, and then just trim it and stuff it back in. So I'll weave that in now, and then we will put the eyes and the mouth on. Okay, so now we're gonna make the eyes. And how I do this is I use this sewing thread, and I will, let me zoom out a little bit, I do 3 strands, so kind of like probably 13 or 14 inches long, and I put them together here. Two and 3. Okay, so I take these, and holding all 3 together, I will knot them, make a knot kind of in the center of the 3 strands. Oh. So do it like this, and make sure that they're all staying together and even. And you want your knot to be not spread out, kind of like that. And I knot it twice. Let me take these finger covers off. This is much easier to do without finger covers on. So that's one, and then we're going to go over it again like this. And now when I tie this, I make sure that the knot is going directly over the first knot, like this. So it makes this larger knot. So you do this twice, one for each eye. So I'm going to do it one more time, and then we'll sew them on. Okay, so now that I have 2 eyes, we're going to take our axolotl, and we're going to sew them on. So generally, this is what seems to work the best for my eyes thus far. You can sew little beads on if you want, but this seems to be the easiest and the cutest. And for bookmarks, it doesn't get snagged on stuff. So I generally do from the top, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, in between 4 and 5, and then like 1 stitch over from the gills, so right in there, and I'll put it in and then come out the back through in the middle of a stitch, if I can get it to go. There we go, like that. And then pull it through until the knot reaches the stitch. Don't pull it too tight. You don't want it to get sucked in, just so it touches. And then you're going to take the other end and you're going to do the same thing through the same stitches. Like so. And just go through the same hole. And also through the same back stitch. Sometimes this can be really hard to pull through, so I take pliers and I use that to pull my needle through. Okay, again, don't pull it too tight. You just want your eye to be flush with the body like this. And then I tie it, double tie it in a knot. Don't tie it too tight or it will get sucked into the head and you'll have to make another one. Oh, goodness. And then I just trim the ends here. And you're going to repeat that for the second eye. Now for the second eye, I generally go 4 stitches apart. And now we're going to do the mouth. And for the mouth, I use 2 strands of sewing thread. About the same length as you did for the eyes, pretty much. Could be a little shorter probably. 1 and 2. Now these, you don't tie any knots. We're just going to string them through our sewing needle here. Like so. And you're going to start from the back this time, so you're just going to go through really any of the stitches that you want to go through. And you're going to go through the stitch that's next to one of the eyes. It doesn't really matter which side you start with, but I always start from looking at it from the right. So this stitch right next to the eye. And I will need my pliers. So when you pull this through, don't pull it all the way out. Pull it so your tail stays about that long. And you're going to go through the other stitch next to the other eye, like that one right there. But you're going to come out in the center of the row below. So let's see if I can show it right there. come out. And your axolotl will get a little misshapen, but you just squeeze it, it'll shape back up. Again, don't pull it all the way off your needle because you need to keep it on. So now that you have this loop, right, that's coming through like this, you're going to take your needle and go under that and pull it over and pull it pretty much all the way tight. Oh, my needle just fell off. So all the way tight like that. And you're going to go back in, back under. And if your original stitch that you went into is a little off center, like if I went in a little too far this way, you just put it in and adjust it to the other side. So let me just show you. This part is tricky, trying to get your smile even. So I need to pull it a little bit that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go in a little bit next to it instead of in the exact same stitch. And you're going to come out the same stitch that you went in, right like that, the back. So let me use my pliers again. Now this time your needle can come off because you're going to pull this all the way through and pull it kind of tight. So now you have a little smile. It's so cute. And we're going to tie that in a knot on the back. I'll show you what I do with all these ends in the back here. Pretty easy. So tie this off. And trim it once again. Okay, so the last thing you're going to do is just shove these tails in, and for your eyes you want to make sure you push them in and a little bit down so you don't push them in straight so the eyes don't pop out a little bit. So we're just going to push them all in like this. And repeat for the other two. All right, so now they're all tucked in and it is finished. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Let me know what you think in the comments below.